In this video, I have a conversation with KYLIE Winfrey from Kingdom Cast, and we talk about a bunch of things, including an updated injury report, the Chiefs running back situation, some of their new additions to the practice squad, including Melvin Gordon, Chiefs and Bengals, and Justin Reid, Ja'Marr Chase, and more going at it on Twitter in preparation for Sunday's game. Well, let's talk about it, but first, how about those? What's up, guys? Cole here with KYLIE, not Manning, KYLIE Winfrey, co-host of Kingdom Cast podcast. Did I say all that right?
You nailed it. Yeah, you got it. I'm actually about to come up on a year here next week that I started with these guys. They're awesome. It's Country Boog, Chuck. It's a great time. We have a great time with it. So it's crazy that it's been a year, but here we are.
Yeah, Boog's funny, man. He makes me laugh out loud. I like that guy.
He's a riot. He's hilarious.
And the name change, that's, at least on Twitter, that's very recent.
Yeah, no, it's very recent. I got married 2 months ago, so just went ahead and went with the name change. And it's going to take a little getting used to, but I love it. It's flowing off the tongue nicely, so I'm here for it.
Congrats on the on 2 months. I'm about to go on 10 years in this game, and it's fun. When we first got married, no, it was actually when we were still dating, so over 10 years ago, we were watching a Chiefs game, and it was like, I don't even know what game it was, to be honest, but it was like 2nd and 8. And she's like, what does that mean? Second what? I was like, second down. She's like, what's a down? I was like, oh, frick, dude. So over 10 years, we've coached her up, and it's been awesome. For those of you guys watching, we're going to go through a handful of stuff that happened today. Just Chiefs news, and me and KYLIE will both kind of weigh in back and forth. First off, I just want to touch on injury report. That dropped at about 4 p.m. today. We're recording at 8 p.m., so a few hours ago. Have you seen it yet, KYLIE?
I have seen it, yes.
Yeah, cool. So the three main ones just that didn't participate would be, this isn't a surprise, but Kadarius Toney with the hamstring, but Jerick McKinnon is now the same status at the moment. He didn't participate with a hamstring strain of sort, as per Coach Reid in his presser today. And then Juju Smith-Schuster didn't participate, which scared me, but he said he's just sick. So hopefully, I mean, we don't know what sickness it is, but hopefully it's just a couple of days and he's back for Sunday. And then the only limited participant was Deion Bush with the elbow. He kind of hurt his elbow in that game last Sunday against the Rams. Everybody else was a full go, but there's a lot more on there that still fully participated. You have any thoughts on any of these?
Yeah, when I read it, I was surprised to see Juju on there. Obviously, once I saw it was a sickness, I was like, okay, yeah, like you said, hopefully he's through it in a few days. You definitely don't want that to be something that's contagious that can spread through the team. So hopefully he is in good shape and taking care of himself. The McKinnon thing, definitely was surprised by with the hamstring. I know he kind of struggled with this last week, so to see it pop back up, it's a little concerning. It does make me wonder if they'll just rest him this weekend. I know we've got a big dog that we're going to the Bengals, but I don't know, longevity here.
Just to dovetail on that with Kadarius Toney, I have this feeling, because Coach Reid said in his presser today that his hamstring's getting better, but they're still just being careful. I have this like suspicion that I've heard from nobody, so it's just like something going in my head. I think I messaged you about it earlier, but I have this suspicion they'll just do what it takes to get this man healthy, and even if that means conservatively, patiently, even waiting for the postseason, I hope it's not that long, but when do we really need some Dante Hall hybrid craziness going on out on the field? That's in the postseason, because the Chiefs are basically, I mean, this is why I'm thinking about it. The Chiefs are like 98% a lock in the West, right? So they're automatically, I know we really want to keep stacking dubs for first seed in the AFC, but we've already pretty much locked the West, so we're going to make it. I hope it's sooner, but I would not be surprised if they just baby that, because that's the same hamstring he re-aggravated, and he missed weeks 3 through 7 with the Giants earlier this season, but right before we traded for him.
Right. And to your point, like they do kind of take their time with getting guys back, and I actually really appreciate that about this team, about the Chiefs team. And you don't really want what you see in LA with the Chargers happening here. I feel like they rush guys back. Staley has a tendency, the whole crew really, to bring the guys back a little too quickly, and then they're hurt that same day. So I appreciate the Chiefs not rushing guys back and taking their time. And then to your point, we pretty much have it locked up, so there's no rush right now.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this, though. When I saw Jerick McKinnon on the injury report, I was like, because they recently made a bunch of roster moves for the practice squad. So I'll highlight all 6 of them real quick. 3 were added, 3 were taken away, and then I'll put the one last very strategically, and we'll just roll off that. So they waived 3. They waived defensive end Azur Kamara, offensive lineman Austin Ryder, running back Wayne Gallman. This isn't all in order of how it happened, but then they signed defensive tackle Brandon Williams, which I kind of like that signing. Then they signed wide receiver Brian Edwards, the former Raider, 3rd-round pick. Then, again, not in order, but then they signed running back Melvin Gordon. And once I saw Gordon signed, a day or 2 later, Wayne Gallman waived. And then I saw Jerick McKinnon on the injury report with a hamstring issue. I was like, okay, so this makes sense why they're getting a little bit of depth. But when I first signed him, I thought, oh, we're playing the Broncos twice from now until the end of the season. Might help for some intel, meaning just new lingo that's been picked up with the new coaching staff, Russell Wilson, hot reads, audibles at the line, like little stuff, nothing crazy. But yeah, then McKinnon appeared on the injury report. They waive Gallman. And I'm like, is Melvin Gordon an emergency veteran safety lever to pull in case somebody else gets hurt? Because think about it. CEH is on IR. McKinnon's popping up on the injury report. Pacheco's given a go as RB1, and he's been balling out. We'll talk about him in a bit. RoJo finally suited up. But if McKinnon's like seriously out, or let's say for Sunday, that's literally just Pacheco and RoJo.
Yeah, not what you want for a running back room, just 2 guys. So you kind of took some of the words out of my mouth there, saying like he'd be a great replacement for McKinnon. Should he not be able to play this game, or even they need to rest him for a few games. Also, I mean, once we get past the Bengals, that stretch of games, the last part of that season, it's not tough. We've kind of gotten through the toughest part of our schedule. So I think in terms of Melvin Gordon, like he's great in the pass catch. He's similar to McKinnon like that. I know some Chiefs fans were a little like, oh, but he fumbles. But to be completely honest, I mean, when you think about the offense that he was in with the Broncos, I mean, nobody thinks they're passing it. Russell Wilson, I don't know what's going on with him, but he's certainly not someone who's, going to throw the deep ball anymore. So I think defenses were playing them a little differently too. And that's not how defenses are going to play this team, the Chiefs. So I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt as far as like the fumbling thing goes. I'm excited. I think this is a good sign for them.
Yeah, and on the fumbles thing, it led me down a rabbit hole of looking up some of our running backs and the amount of carries they've had, and then every fumble they've had, and then trying to be like, oh, how often do they actually fumble? So when I first looked it up, I was like, okay, RoJo in 492 attempts has fumbled 7 times, and so he fumbles once every 70.3 carries. And that's not something we really talk about with RoJo. I mean, it was brought up a little bit, but nothing too crazy. Melvin Gordon, 1,567 carries, 26 fumbles. Fumbles once every 60.3 carries. So 10 carries less per fumble compared to RoJo. However, somebody said, what if you just look at this year? So I did do that, and it's not as encouraging. So if you do the math just on that, Melvin Gordon this season, 90 rushes, 5 fumbles, averaging a fumble every 18 carries. That's a little rough. RoJo, I'm going full season last year of all his carries. So 101 rushes, 2 fumbles every 50.5. That's a little better. Pacheco, 97 carries, 3 fumbles. Believe that or not. 2 were recovered by the Chiefs, so it's fine. 1 wasn't against the Jags, but that's 1 fumble every 32 carries. So to summarize, Pacheco, right now on average, one fumble every 32, Melvin Gordon, one fumble every 18, and RoJo, one fumble every 50. That's the most nerdy stuff that I could probably look up. But I was encouraged about the Melvin Gordon thing until somebody said, just look at this year. And yeah, one fumble every 18. That's been a little bit rough.
Yeah, it's like I said, it was a little discouraging. You definitely, especially since we don't really have a turnover problem right now on our offense, so that's not really something you want to bring in. I also know that he's struggled in the red zone with these turnovers. Definitely not an area we want to turn the ball over, and that's a game changer. We're about to score, we fumble, we turn the ball over. Not something we want. But again, I think with the right coaching staff, with the right team, we could see that change a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if anybody can turn somebody around, I would think it's Kansas City and their coaching staff. And again, Melvin Gordon, what I see in this man is a veteran who has a lot of experience. He has a lot of experience specifically in the AFC West, was with the Chargers, with the Broncos. I secretly wonder if he has like this goal, this hidden agenda goal to fumble once on every team in the AFC West, but I'm just kidding about that. But I just see him, yeah. If you, like this late in the season, you're looking around at running backs to shore up for like solid depth. I mean, Melvin Gordon has to be a name that pops out. So here he is. He was seen at practice today. I'll throw a graph or a video photo up. So he's here, and I hope that the McKinnon thing is very minor, but hamstrings, like, they make me nervous because it could be very minor or it could be a lingering issue. Think of, is it Keenan Allen with the lingering hamstring issue on and off all season? And then I think he's better now. But
Tony.
Yeah, and then Tony. And if we're going to bring it back to our team. Yeah, but it's happening. Once it happens, it can linger. So that's what makes me a little bit nervous about McKinnon.
Yeah, definitely. And he is someone that we really, really want in that home stretch there. He's great in pass protection. His blocking skills are great. And maybe that's something that Melvin Gordon can bring too. I'm not familiar with how great he is as a blocker, but I don't know, just trying to think outside the box with him.
Yeah, so I was listening to a podcast. I think it was the Lab Guys, Casey Lab Guys with KCSN, and they were actually saying that Melvin Gordon's pretty good as a pass blocker, which is another, they were saying this about Melvin Gordon and him possibly helping offset some of that with McKinnon from time to time in case of emergency before they even knew McKinnon was injured. So then McKinnon pops up on the injury report, and that makes a little bit more sense to me. But again, Andy Reid in his presser today basically said, he was asked about Melvin Gordon. He just kind of said something along the lines of, yeah, we'll see. He just got here. We believe in him as a player. That's why he's here. We know what he's capable of, but we kind of have to just wait and see, how he can contribute if he's needed. But they didn't bring him on for nothing. I mean, it is for probably in case of emergency, but again, with McKinnon popping up, we might possibly see this man getting elevated sooner than we think, even if it's just a 1-2 punch with Pacheco and RoJo for the most part, and Melvin's just there suited up in case somebody goes down. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I did like what I saw, the little bit I saw out of RoJo last week. I mean, we hadn't seen much of him, but I felt like he made a good first impression.
Oh yeah. That little, it was such a dope play, to be honest. The pass to RoJo out of the backfield. I think if I remember right, it was man coverage. Kelsey knew it and kind of ran in a little bit in the way, and RoJo's man just couldn't get there. So it was fire. 22 yards, and then, I mean, just as impressive, if not more, Pacheco on that option route. It wasn't out of the backfield. Mahomes put him in motion, and he kind of flicked him out to the outside, and then snapped the ball. And Pacheco ran an option route, went inside, and caught that pass for 17. I was really impressed with that, to be honest.
Oh my gosh, I know. And something else about Pacheco, I really, really loved seeing how Pacheco's grown over this season. And since making him running back RB1, I mean, we've only seen more and more of an established run game. And that guy is tough as nails. The way he gets hit and then he just pops back up. He's like the first one back to the huddle. And he's like, all right, let's go. We're going again. And I don't know, there's just his energy that he brings and his spunkiness, and he's tough. And we need that in our run game. And I don't, no diss on Clyde, but I just feel like that's something that we've sort of been missing.
This is crazy also. Pacheco's at 455 yards for the season. And I don't know if you know this, but this is what I got on this rabbit trail today of research. Somebody messaged me and said, did you know 4 years ago today, on the day, November 30th, the Chiefs released Kareem Hunt because the video surfaced today 4 years ago? Okay, so.
Has it?
Yeah, 4 years to the day, which is sad. Like, I don't want to go down the rabbit trail of Kareem Hunt. I miss that guy. But it got me down this rabbit trail thinking, because Pacheco's probably the closest thing to Kareem Hunt, just in the sense of like a scary running back for the team that we have. Obviously, some people say, well, hold your horses. He's not putting up Kareem Hunt numbers. I mean, Kareem Hunt's rookie year, 272 carries for 1,327 yards and 8 TDs, and then 53 receptions for 455 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that's a total of 1,782 yards from scrimmage and 11 TDs. Now, I say all that to say this. Pacheco didn't get the nod until the 49ers game. I think it was like week 7. And prior to that, 1 through 6, he had 149 rushing yards. Okay. Since then, he's tacked on an additional 306 yards, 455 on the season. I'll get to my point here, but over the last 3 games, he's averaged 86 yards per game. And if you average that out for the rest of the season, that could put Pacheco roughly around 971 yards at season's end, just on the ground. And that's with him not even really getting carries, meaningful carries until week 7. So that's pretty cool.
Whew. That's super cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Like, think about, where he would be if he had the nod from the beginning, like you said.
Yep.
And gosh, I don't know. I'm a really big fan of his. I love what he brings. And thinking about, like, the more that O-line gels with him, like, how much more production we're going to see from him. And the RPOs, I feel like they've minimized those a little bit more, so there's not as much confusion for the O-line. And that's really helped with this run game, and I think that's really helped Pacheco. And I think it's only going to improve. So, yeah, he's going to be right there, borderline 1,000 yards. Could be.
Yeah, that's like... He may not get to 1,000, but again, it's fine. Like, I think CEH's rookie year, he didn't get 1,000. He had 1,000 from scrimmage, but he played most of the season. So he had like 800 on the ground and maybe a couple hundred passing. Either way, if you just kind of backtrack and like look at averages, if Pacheco played all season, he would be right there, if not more. And then the reception that we saw in the game against the Rams, that shows me promise. Like, maybe they're going to start, like Mahomes in particular is going to start looking at Pacheco a little bit more on some of these check downs, especially if McKinnon's injured or just because he's earning his trust, which is awesome. And then do you remember back in April, Brett Veach said pre-draft, the draft is so stacked. I was telling my guys, I predict there's going to be a 1,000-yard rusher in the later rounds or a UDFA. You remember him saying that? So that's, in my eyes, like, I wonder, dude, because they do their homework. I wonder if they had Pacheco in their sights the whole time. And I wonder, we'll never know this, but I wonder if they had Pacheco in their sights and knew that could be their guy in the system to be able to produce a 1,000-yard season. And I've already kind of shown, like, he could have already done it. I mean, he could be there even just from week 7 on, which is pretty impressive. I'm excited about that.
Oh man, definitely. And those guys have such a great game face, so we would never know
right,
what they're thinking. But what a steal from the 7th round. Rutgers guy, like, coming in. He came in and he said, I'm here to take a grown man's job. And here we are, week 13, he's RB1. And granted, CEH does have an injury, but he's definitely coming and proving himself.
Yeah, injury or not, Pacheco came for it already. Over the course of 3 weeks of him getting the nod for RB1, his snap count started to slowly increase. CH's started to slowly decrease. And then, was it the week before he got injured? Yeah, it was the game before CH got injured. Wasn't it that game? He had 4 snaps, 2, like, Mahomes threw his way twice, and then he never touched the ball once, like, for any rushing yards at all. I think that was the game before he got injured. The writing was on the wall. So we've kind of talked about a bunch of stuff right now. We went over injury report for the Chiefs. We didn't touch on the Bengals, but I mean, the main thing for the Bengals that everyone's going to want to know about, Ja'Marr Chase was limited with the hip injury. He hasn't played in 4 weeks or so. I still don't know if he's going to play. I think he will because it's the Chiefs, but they're pretty healthy. So I look at all this and I'm like, good. We want to play the best Bengals team, and I still kind of have PTSD. I was at the AFC Championship game last year. Like, I spent a lot of money to get there. And honestly, though, you have opposite experiences on social media with Bengals fans, but man, I met a lot of nice Bengals fans in person. I think they're just, you're different in person. You're a little bit more cordial. But I'm saying all that to say this. Ja'Marr Chase, he'll probably play. But on the subject of Ja'Marr Chase, maybe we could talk about what kind of went down on social media tonight with Justin Reid and Ja'Marr Chase.
Oh my gosh. Things are getting heated on Twitter.
Basically, Justin Reid was interviewed in the locker room and kind of said, I'm going to lock T. Higgins down. But he really meant Hayden Hurst. He clarified that in a comment on Twitter and said, nonetheless, any and everybody still getting locked up. To which Ja'Marr Chase responded saying, let's put some money on it big time. Justin Reid, y'all welcome for the extra motivation. I'm going to see you Sunday, champ. And then this is where I got lost. Ja'Marr Chase, tuna in a can. Cat emoji or Bengal emoji, whatever you want to call it. Justin Reid replied, noted, with TI, nodding like this. So what the heck is tuna in a can? Am I old?
I really don't know.
What does that mean?
Okay, so I think I know what it means, but he's calling him out for being the P word.
Yeah, so I asked on Twitter. I did ask on Twitter. I said, what the heck does this mean? Someone said he's calling him the B word. He said Bengal is a cat. Cats eat tuna. Somebody said Urban Dictionary has some odd answers. A few people, though, said he's calling him a puss. Add the Y.
Yeah.
And then one guy said he's saying he's going to push off even more than normal, which I thought was funny.
Not what I took from that, but could be.
Either way, what are your thoughts on that? Regardless of what that means, all I take it as trash talk is going, even though it's weird to me, like Justin Reid wasn't here last season. In his presser, I think they asked him in that interview, basically said, even though you weren't here, what's it going to be like? And Justin Reid said, yeah, I'm going to lock him up, basically is what happened. And then that whole convo started. So you got thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that I think everybody had circled from the beginning of the season. From the time the schedule dropped, everybody's been waiting for this game, at least if you're a Chiefs fan, and certainly if you're a Chiefs player. I mean, they walked away with such a bad taste in their mouth with that AFC Championship game that this has been on their minds all season long. That's what they've been working for. I know Chris Jones has mentioned it. So I think Justin Reid coming into this organization, they were probably like, listen, we've got a couple games. We're looking at the Bills and we're looking at the Bengals. And they've been working and they've been talking about this. And so Justin Reid, shots fired. I love that. I love the energy he's bringing. I know he wasn't here last season, but for him to be, he's a team player. He's part of the team. So, it's his team too. It's going to be it's going to be a physical game on Sunday. It's going to be a fun game on Sunday. And I'm just here with popcorn ready to watch.
Both games last year, I believe, was a 3-point game. Even Mahomes in his presser today said, when you have a team as competitive as these guys, Joe Burrow being the competitor he is, it's going to be a close game almost every time, basically is what he said. I will say this. The Chiefs need this dub bad, just for sanity. This is probably the hardest game we have left on the schedule. The Seahawks will be a challenge. I mean, the Raiders, we play again. They only lost by 1. We play the Broncos twice. I get all that. But Bengals 7-4. They're playing pretty good this season. I mean, they're a great team, coached well. You think it's going to be physical? I agree. You think it's going to be a close game as well? What are you thinking?
Listen, it's going to be a close game. I know I'm going to be stressing until the last minute, but that's okay. I'm preparing myself for it now. But he's right. I mean, what Mahomes said, he hit the nail on the head. That's a good team over there. I mean, Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. They've got one of the greatest wide receiver room especially if Chase is
That's a good one.
back. So, I mean, the weapons are there, and they torched us in the secondary last year. So, we are much more athletic in the secondary. We're a quicker team. We're a younger team. We're a more physical team. So I think we're gonna make some adjustments. I think we're gonna show up a little bit better, not give away the big play as much. But I'm thinking close game, 3 points, maybe a touchdown if we're lucky. But Chiefs are gonna win.
Yeah, the Bengals are no joke. I mean, even like Joe Mixon will be back. If you look at his stats, he has their running back, 605 yards on the ground, but then he has 314 yards in the air. He almost already has 1,000 yards from scrimmage this season. Now, Joe Burrow has kind of had to lean on some of these other guys heavier with Ja'Marr Chase out, but they're, T. Higgins, 826 yards. Ja'Marr Chase is the second receiving leader on the team, even though he hasn't played in 4 games, which is freaking hilarious. Patrick Mahomes was he was complimenting these guys. And then, of course, in his presser today, he was asked multiple times, basically, about the loss. How do you kind of deal? How do you bounce back? Does it affect you? And one thing that really stood out to me was a couple things. This wasn't directly related to the Bengals game, but he said today he prefers to throw from the pocket more than anything. Scrambling from the pocket won't go away, but he's trusting more in his reads, which I found interesting. But then he said, this is why I say this, then he said in regards to the second half of the Bengals game, he felt like he needed to press when things weren't going his way, and he started just losing grip, sight on the fundamentals of the game. And he said he's made a conscious effort this season, even when under pressure, to stay focused on the fundamentals, just literally staying in the pocket, going through your reads, and then from there, try to make something happen if nothing's open, like extend, do what he does, he kind of shimmies up and to the right to extend the play, that. But I just found it interesting that he said the biggest thing he just needs to do is just to stay calm and remain focused on his fundamentals, on top of him saying that to his statement of these days he prefers to stay in the pocket and go through reads more than anything. I'm like, yo, this is probably the best news we could hear from Mahomes after the collapse that we saw in the second half of the Bengals game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, he's done a lot of reflecting. He's looked at a lot of film. He's seeing, where he was pressing. He's only, 27. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's continuing to grow. And obviously, we love what made him Patrick Mahomes and what we saw from that first season and him always leaving the pocket to make this crazy electric play. And those are still things that we're going to see. But if he's comfortable in the pocket, he's going through his reads. I mean, letting the offensive line kind of do what they are there to do, then we have a much more successful offense and we have a much more efficient offense. And it's really nice to hear him say those things. I actually didn't see that presser, but it's really, really great to hear him say that and kind of take ownership of what his faults were in that game and how he's gone back to fundamentals this season.
Yeah, it was his presser today, and I just live in my basement and consume everything. So I listened to all the pressers. Chris Jones spoke as well. But yeah, that was one thing that I took away from that. And then he did talk a little bit about this, which we can talk on real quick. But dude, he had a freaking baby. Well, he didn't. Brittany had a baby. So father of baby number 2, Patrick Bronze Levon Mahomes the third. PM3. He's going to call him Bronze. But yeah, he seemed really stoked about it. And yeah, I'm happy for him. He did confirm, because I was curious, Brittany and baby, are they good? He said that everything went very smoothly and Brittany's a champion. So congrats to that. That's exciting.
Oh my gosh, congrats to them. It was so cute the way they announced too that they have little Bronze. I'm excited for them. Couldn't be happier for them. I'm so happy that she's happy and healthy, that the baby's healthy. And you could see it from what I did see. I think I saw a little clip. He is just glowing. He lit up the presser. He's super psyched to be now a father of 2, and he has a little boy.
So,
I thought it was great too. Sorry, did you see what Bobby Stroop said? And he was like, "We start in 5 years," and all these different teams are being like, "Oh, and the 2045 draft, whoever takes Patrick Mahomes the third." And I just thought that was funny. People already claiming him.
Coach Reid said today in his presser that his teammates are already joking that that's the Chiefs' next franchise quarterback. So,
yeah, sign him now.
KYLIE, we've been trying to make this happen for a couple weeks, so I appreciate your time. Thanks for just your input. Thanks for holding it down for the Kingdom. I always see you on Twitter kind of going at people, putting people in check for the sake of the Kingdom, so appreciate that.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I know we went back and forth, but so happy that we could finally make this work. Yes, on Twitter, I don't like when people bully other Chiefs fans. It's not okay. So we don't let that happen. But yeah, catch me on Twitter, find me on Twitter, check out Kingdom Cast. Got myself, Country Boog, and Chuck, and we're holding it down. We're talking about Chiefs football before and after every game. So check us out. And Cole, thank you again for having me. This has been so fun. Love chatting Chiefs football with you.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. You got to let me know your thoughts on some of the stuff we talked about. What about Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Reid on Twitter? What do you think about the running back situation? Let me know some of the stuff that stood out to you in this conversation, and make sure to give KYLIE a follow on Twitter, sub to Kingdom Cast on YouTube. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those Chiefs?